All good. Thank you. Thanks for checking. It did crash, but it's rebooted. Thank you for getting it back. Thank you for getting it back, Ashley. So, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll, see if we have a quorum?
Yeah. Mayor Weber?
Present.
All right. Councilor Chavez? Here. Councilor Lee Garcia?
Here.
Councilor Lindell? Here. Councilor Rivera?
Here.
Councilor Romero-Worth?
Here.
And I will note that Councilor Cassett, Councilor Michael Garcia, and Councilwoman Villarreal are absent.
Correct. And I believe they checked in and said they couldn't make it.
You are correct.
Can we get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Move to approve. Second.
There's a motion to approve the agenda and a second. Is that a voice vote or a roll call vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The agenda is approved. We have item 7A on the agenda, Madam Clerk. If you can read that into the record for us, please.
Yes, it's consideration of a resolution extending the duration of the mayor's emergency proclamation responding to fire risks issued on May 28, 2022 by 7 days, expiring at noon on June 7, 2022. This is pursuant to SFCC 1987, Section 20-1.3C. And our attorney, Erin McSherry, is available for this item.
Right. Thank you. Can I get a motion and then we'll have discussion?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion to approve and there's a second. I'm happy to entertain questions or comments about what's going on with this proclamation, what's happening with the trails, why we're doing it. If anybody wants to address the issue, just let me know. Councilor Lindell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just have a couple of comments to make on this. I realize that fire department and other experts have suggested that we do this. I hate for us to be giving up our recreation opportunities with people. I don't have any data to back this up, but I don't think that people that are riding bikes or walking the trails are our greatest risk folks. And I would hope that we could find a way to get these open again as quickly as possible. I think we have some other areas that are much, much riskier that we could put our attention and resources to. And we have a little bit of time to do that, to think about that between now and when this expires on June 7th. So I would hope that we would do that, because I think that right now is a really, really hard time to take people's outdoor recreation opportunities away from them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. If anyone else, just raise a hand and I'll call in. Councilor Rivera.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't here last week, but just curious if I know there were many people camping out on or near trails. Is that being addressed in this as well?
You mean people who are in encampments?
Correct.
Yeah. We are moving forward with our new policy on encampments that will discourage that as well.
Yeah, because I agree with Councilwoman Lindell that I think they pose probably a larger threat than people riding a bike or just hiking on the trails. And when we did this back when I was the fire chief, when Cerro Grande was here, and I'll have to look at it, Councilor Lindell, we established like a Friends of the Trail type of thing that helped patrol really the trails. And it was people that really their homes backed up to the Atalaya Trail or their homes backed up to Dale Bowl Trail, and they were able to walk. And I know that's a little dangerous, but they were able to help patrol and would call in things if something happened. And I'll try to dig that up from when we did it before and see if that may help, if this is going to be a long-term thing.
I think it'd be great to have more experience from previous dangerous situations. If you can find more examples of things we can appeal to the public to participate in, I think it'd be really well done.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Counselor Merrill Worth, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I would just say, I don't think we're giving up recreational opportunities. We are certainly contracting the range and incredible, access that we have. But I think this is something we're trying to protect. If there's a fire, we lose it as it stands today, and it'll be a long time to recover. So while I recognize this is inconvenient, nobody likes it, I don't think we do this lightly, and I want to see us protect what we have so that we have it for generations to come. I think we need to be serious about the enforcement and the signage, which have been uneven, and we may be in this for a few weeks. I don't know how the council feels, but I think it's something that we may want to do for a bit. And while I agree that mountain bikers may not be the people who are our threat, when you close down all of the areas surrounding us, you put greater pressure on what's left for the full range of activities. And we certainly have had several, I know I have had several, both in the newspaper and anecdotal stories about people not exactly being responsible on our trails and doing things that pose a fire threat. I like the idea of Friends of the Trails. I'd be very curious about how that works, because people are grumpy right now, and I don't know that we want to be putting neighbors out to do that kind of enforcement. But I'd be curious to hear about it. And then I had one other thought, which is now escaping me, and I didn't write it down, but it was an important one. So if I think of it, maybe I'll come
back. When it comes back
But,
around on the merry-go-round, we'll come back.
But again, I don't think we do this lightly. I don't think any of us like it. I remember the thought, which is that I think we're also trying to protect the resources that we have to fight fires. So it's a little bit like COVID. We did a lot of shutdown with COVID to protect our hospitals, to make sure that our hospitals were available for the people who were sick and that they could handle the number of people who had COVID. And in some ways, I see this as protecting our fire resources, which we know our own forces have been deployed to the biggest fire in the state. And I think that, while we have, we're told, adequate resources still to protect the city, there's only so far you can stretch that. And so, again, I have gotten a couple of emails from people who don't like this. I don't like it either, but I think it's necessary to protect the incredible trail systems that we have so that when we get past this danger, we will still have them and be able to enjoy them in their current and natural states as they are now, and hopefully they'll survive the dryness. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. It's no doubt that we're dealing with some very dry climate and very dry areas. We are in drought, and I guess to bounce off a couple of the things that were just stated in regards to possibly having friends of the trails, things of that nature. But I would also like to see how these trails are maintained and cleaned, because I think that has a lot to do with it as well. And so the maintenance is similar to fire prevention at your own home. You clean around your home and things of that nature. And so I am interested also in the next coming days to learn more about what's being done. And I think it is something that's necessary at this point, given the fires that are blaring up everywhere. I mean, I think there was even a spot fire on Zaffarano over the weekend, just, out of the blue. And so that's the last thing we need is for our trails to be burnt up and not be able to use them for some time as well. So thank you. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Mr. Blair, I wonder if you could share, I know you've been getting daily or almost daily briefings from fire department personnel, police, other public safety folks, and I know they expressed in some of those briefings the rationale presented by the experts in the fire prevention and response area, and just how serious the circumstances are. If you wanted to, I know I didn't prepare you for this, but I know you were on those calls. You may have the ability to think back to what some of the reasons were that were given, and the unpredictability of fire that we're dealing with, and the rapidity with which it could spread if it actually occurred.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilors, thank you for being here today for the special meeting. We, to the mayor's point, have been holding almost daily briefings with Chief Moya and his team, and with our wildfire crew that are on the ground on the front lines, fighting the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon fire. The real genuine concern is I want to flag something that I think Councilor Romero Worth made reference to, which is that Chief Moya has gone out of his way to ensure that we're doing all we can to protect and help our neighbors to the north and to the east of us, while at the same time ensuring that we have a full fire team here in Santa Fe. I want to assure everyone in Santa Fe we are at full capacity here in Santa Fe and are able to fight any fire if and when it happens in town. Part of the concern around the trails is the ability for our fire teams to get into the area if there is a fire. And I know that some of the complaints have been, well, why the La Tierra trails? Those aren't even in the mountains. Why do we care? Because if someone is a half mile into those trails, a mile in, it could take hours for a fire team to get to the point that they could fight the fire. And what may be a lightning strike or a cigarette butt or a small start to a fire, by the time the fire team gets to it, could be 100 acres. And what we know from the data around the fire now is that the dryness, the unprecedented winds that we've had have created this perfect storm where we are more subject to really damaging fires than we have been in the past. We don't know if this is our new normal. We don't know if this is going to be the future of Santa Fe every year. We know that this is what we're dealing with right now. And so I think there are some things that we are working on. There was a real push on our part to navigate the bureaucracy of city government, of forcing you all to come here at 10:30 on a Monday or a Tuesday morning. But there was a push and an urgency on behalf of our fire team that we do shut the trails down before Memorial Day weekend. And we were working through the machinations of what is the most efficient and equitable way to do this and to notify the public of it. We're in the middle of that path right now. I know that Director McDonald and her team are working to ensure that the gates are up, that the ropes are up, that there is signage up at all the parks. I know that Chief Joy and his team are working on enforcement. Was it all perfect on Thursday when it was announced? It wasn't, but we're doing the best we can and we're getting there. And we appreciate the flexibility of our citizens and our visitors who want to engage in the trails and use our outdoor spaces. One thing I think that we can push a little bit better on is helping folks in Santa Fe understand what's still available. What urban trails do we have that people can use? What tennis courts can they get to? What pools are open, et cetera? And that there's still a lot of opportunity for people in Santa Fe who are feeling cooped up from COVID or anything else to be able to get out into the public and to experience our outdoors in a safe way. And so I think that that's sort of the background of what led us to making this decision. And to underline the point you all have made, this wasn't made lightly. It wasn't made in jest. This is deadly serious, and we're doing all we can to protect the citizens of Santa Fe.
Thank you. I would second the comparison that Councilor Romero Worth made to COVID, the early days of COVID. Everybody was upset about having to close things down, risk people's livelihoods when hotels, restaurants, shops had to be closed, and the answer was, this is an extremely dangerous situation, and we can't predict where it will strike. It's not I had some very thoughtful emails over the weekend about people treating it as a risk-reward ratio, it's a zero-sum game. All you need is one fire, and we're in deep trouble. So I think taking extra precautions because of the heightened danger situation we're in, as well as sharing it equitably and fairly and universally with everybody. It is like COVID. We are all in this together. And all it takes is, or would take, would be one catastrophe of a fire to suddenly put the city at risk in the way that we've seen our neighbors at risk. Simply acknowledging that, and as a community stepping up to do everything we can to prevent it, strikes me as the only responsible thing to do right now. It's not fun. Nobody likes to do it. Nobody wants to do it. And any more than we wanted to have COVID shut down when the early days of COVID hit. Hopefully, in the spirit of Councilor Rivera's prayer, we'll get some rain and some moisture, some water, some relief. The fires that are surrounding us will be contained. We'll have a situation where we can enjoy the spring and the summer more outdoors. But until then, I do believe it is incumbent upon everybody to be careful, to be very, very cautious in going out onto any trail, whether it's closed or not, and to provide safety for the whole community by how we behave as a community. So it's not anybody's idea of an enjoyable thing to do. It is I think it is the only wise thing to do. Yes,
So,
Councilor.
City Manager Blair, you said that communication is going to go out about what is open. Because I think one of the big things is we have a lot of work being done at parks right now in regards to tennis courts, and now we have this closure, which I agree with the restriction. It's scary right now, just unpredictability and winds, the dryness, everything. It just takes that one incident for something to happen. But I think that what would help the community is very clear communication about what's available, what the hours are, anything in regards to staffing if those changes are there, because then we just add tension on top of tension by, oh, we don't have staffing, so this place is closed now, or this is going on. If we're going to do this, I want there to be clear communication so that they know what is available to them, and there's not disappointment on top of disappointment.
Mayor Weber, Councilor Chavez, yes, we are going to work on making sure the public understands what's available, what's open, and providing that clear, reliable communication to the public. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to that point, Councilor Lindell played golf over the weekend. That's open. Tomorrow night is the opening night of the Fuego. That's open. And I say that with a smile on my face because those are a couple of things we can all enjoy and take part in as a community, and do so with good spirit and good fun. But there'll be a more comprehensive list, of course, than what I'm just referring to right now out of a spirit of community fun. Any other comments about this? If not, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on the motion that's in front of us?
Councilor Chavez?
Yes.
Councilor Lee Garcia?
Yes.
Councilor Lindell? Councilor Rivera? Councilor Marworth?
Yes.
Mayor Weber?
Yes.
Motion was approved.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody for coming in on this special meeting. I know it's not convenient, but it is an urgent matter, and it's really genuinely gracious of everybody to make themselves available. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.